Good morning. Chris Brewer, Momentum Technologies Corporation. We can hit it for a second. At Momentum, we're bringing a new type of engine technology to market that can replace the engine in your car, your lawnmower, your snowmobile, your motorcycle, your diesel engine in your truck, your locomotive, and your tractor trailer. So I know what you're thinking. This is probably one of the toughest markets to penetrate. This technology has been around for 150 years. It is ingrained in our society and entrenched in our infrastructure. It is a tough market to penetrate. However, we know also that it is only moderately efficient. It's peaked on efficiency. Experts tell us we'll get another 1 or 2%, that's about it. And it's a pretty heavy polluter. So there's been a lot of other technologies out there that have challenged this technology. They require usually one or two things or both. They want to change the infrastructure, they want to change the society, or both, and that is very expensive and it takes a long period of time. We don't believe we should have to wait that long. We know the bar's been set very high. This reminds me of what a young man faced in the late 1960s. He was a high jumper. There were two methods of high jumping back then: scissors kick and head first. If you haven't heard of those, there's a good reason for that. Because there was a young man that knew he had to change the method to be competitive. And so as he developed that method, he faced a lot of resistance. Sports Illustrated said he looked like a man falling out of a building as he went over the bar. But the important thing to remember there is that he went over the bar. He won the gold medal in 1968. Dick Fosbury never won another gold medal. But he changed things because every medal won in every Olympics since that time utilized his method. So I ask you, can you challenge the status quo? Can you take a paradigm and turn it on its head? The answer is yes. But you better have a good method, and you better be able to face some resistance. So, next slide. Momentum Technologies is bringing a new engine that can do things other engines can't do. We do run on any fuel, so we can run on gas, diesel, hydrogen, propane, natural gas. Any cleaner fuel you come up with, we can run on that too. For the meantime, we're going to reduce pollution. We are going to reduce carbon dioxide emissions. Perhaps we will sequester a good portion of that. We're going to eliminate nitrous oxide pollution. We don't need engine oil. In the United States, we use 7 million barrels of engine oil a year. Most of that comes back to us in the form of toxic waste sludge. What doesn't leak on the ground or get burned? We don't need engine coolant. Our efficiency is going to start right where they left off and only go up from there. The ceiling is much higher. We're much lighter in weight. So with the efficiency and the weight, we'll get what we need now, and it will only get better. On top of that, we're less expensive to manufacture than current technology. So we have a lot going for us. We're going to need that. Again, this is a very tough market. We need all that and more. We are combining multiple disciplines to change the rule book. Next slide. So I want to bring the technology home just a little bit. In this slide, you see my children. They're holding, the oldest is 8, what he's holding above his head is the equivalent of the engine block of our technology. The engine in your car weighs 350 to 1,000 pounds. I can't tell you how the technology works in an open forum. I think you would agree that that would be a good idea. But you can see I have a lot of reasons why I'd like to get this technology to market. I think we owe it to ourselves to allow new technologies in that can make the changes we need today. So what do I need from 1 million customers? I need your input I need to make this presentation better. I need to know what you think, what I can do better. I need to build or continue to build a team of people that can put together a strategic plan to enter each niche market. Of course, we need funding to continue to develop our plans. Thank you. And I just can't tell you how much I'm happy to be part of this. Been here since July. I really like it. I welcome your questions. Yes?
How much again did this motor weigh, this engine weigh?
I estimate a 100 horsepower engine would weigh less than 40 pounds.
40.
Two questions. Where's the substance here? What's the scientific principles that you're basing the engine on? And once you, if it's successful, how are you going to overcome the automobile companies which have squashed technology over the decades?
So the question was, where are the scientific principles? The second question is, how are we going to penetrate the market? So the first part is, I can't go into detail in an open forum on how the technology works. Part of it is patented, part of it is not patented, so it wouldn't be a good idea to share exactly how it functions.
Scientific laws? I mean, what are you basing this on? Is it an internal combustion engine?
It is an internal combustion engine, but the similarity between this engine and existing engines are that we burn fuel and that we turn at the same RPM with the same sort of torque. That's the only similarities. I just can't give you more than that. So how do we penetrate the market? I believe we go after niche markets first. I'd love to see one in every lawnmower. Then we move on to another market and so on. I believe that when the public sees this, they could drive this technology towards the auto manufacturer. I'm very aware that to change something on an automotive line, it probably costs $100 million. They're not going to do that unless they really feel they have to. That's probably the only reason they do it, is because they have to make that change to meet what the customer wants. So I don't think it's going to be an easy process by any stretch. I think it can happen. And like I said, why not go after the lowest fruit? I mean, if you go right after the car companies, yeah, you'll get squashed. There's no doubt about it.
A lot of innovation has been adapted by the car companies. It comes about from race cars. So have you considered going into manufacture of small race cars at the lowest level?
Interesting. I haven't considered it, but then again, that's why I want to put together a team that really can identify some of those key markets where we can enter. Yeah, every engine in the industry is a Honda engine, so I'm aware of that.
You have a prototype. Where are you in the actual process of?
I am currently testing a crude prototype that is giving the numbers that really led me to believe I could come forward with it. It needs to get out of the garage and into the market, and so the results are looking very good, and so I knew I had to do something because I need more technical expertise in every level. So engineering, finance, marketing, all those things. I realize that I have some great strengths, but they don't cover everything that I'm going to need to do to go forward.
So, what's your background? Are you an engineer?
I'm not an engineer. My background, I'll give you the colorful story. How's that? I'm from St. Paul. I graduated high school about 2 miles away that way in Humboldt. But 30 years ago, one of my first jobs was at the St. Paul Civic Center. After concerts, I would clean up after whatever you can imagine people leave behind at concerts. And I would walk home at 3 o'clock in the morning because there was no buses running that way. Since that time, I find it ironic that I'm back here. I taught at Montana State University. I taught at the university the heating, ventilating, air conditioning, refrigeration program. I have been in charge of large industrial ammonia compressing refrigeration systems and high pressure boiler systems. I did go through a maintenance management program at the University of Wisconsin, and I am a maintenance mechanical manager at a facility for Ramsey County in Short.
How much money are you looking to raise when you talk funding?
I really think that I need the team on board before I can clearly say what we're gonna need. The technology is really relatively expensive. I have built prototypes for $105,000. So it will cost more because we need some engineering to refine that, to get it market ready, but I don't want to put a number on it right now without having a team together to really say, identify that. I could miss either way, so. Yes?
I understand the social implications. What about the consumer implications? Miles per gallon, that kind of thing. Is there an influence on the consumer's pocketbook?
Well, with the weight of the technology is so much less, that even if we just mark the same efficiency out of the gate, you're going to pick up miles per gallon just by the reduction in weight. The potential for efficiency is much higher. I don't want to throw a number on that just because, you know, if you don't understand how the technology exactly works, it's going to be hard to envision how you can achieve a high efficiency. But yeah, so you wouldn't have to, you'll drive your car and you don't have to change anything. So you gain those benefits right away. That's the goal, is that we don't have to change infrastructure. We don't have to have a new fuel initially. If we come up with one, all the better. But in the meantime, we can get those advantages to your pocketbook. It's less expensive. It's less expensive to drive. There's no oil changes anymore. Don't have to add antifreeze. So less maintenance. So there's a lot of potential benefits to the consumer who just not going to have to do a lot of those things. You will have to go in and have your chassis greased. That's why you have to go in at 3,500 miles, but not to change your engine oil. So, question? Any other questions? Well, thank you. Yes?
I have a question. What other kinds of technology partners are you working with, if at all? Engineering students from universities, other people in collaborative communities around entrepreneurship, any of those?
So I have worked off and on with the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. So the question was, who am I working with? And secondly is, I've worked with Wisconsin Economic Development a little bit. I live in Luck, Wisconsin. I have worked some with Stout, University of Wisconsin Stout. And I have worked with some PhDs in mechanical engineering at Montana State University, Bozeman. Again, this is an opportunity to bring more of those partners in.
So this is going to sound kind of like a game show question. I guess you can answer yes or no in the circumstances. But the technology, is it being applied someplace else in the world that indicates that this is a proven idea that you are now applying in a different manner?
Great question. So is at least some of this technology proven someplace else? And yes, I am combining two technologies that are proven. That's another reason why I can move forward, that the physics are sound and that will work. Because these things work now, but they're being used now in a completely different way. Part of that is my patented technology, and part of that is a different technology that we're incorporating. Sure.
Is your technology competitive against other upcoming technologies, driverless cars, or other types of vehicles and propulsion?
So is the technology compatible with other technologies?
Competitive.
And competitive. Well, the driverless car is still going to have some engine to propel it, so no problem there. It's not going to change the vehicle we have today except to make it lighter and more efficient. And I haven't seen anything on the market that even compares. I look every day to see if somebody's out there with some competing technology that can challenge us, and I just haven't seen anything that's close. It's really because we're taking these other disciplines and making this engine that just runs on a different set of rules. I know that's a little hard to accept without seeing it, but if I showed you a diesel engine right there, you wouldn't really necessarily know what was going on inside it either. So, so it's one of those things, we would get mired in the discussion of function and not of benefit. So.
In Europe, they manufacture cars that are like personal vehicles, like a motorcycle with a roof. So it seems like in Europe, perhaps they would be more not only accepted, but really interested in what could improve their, especially their personal vehicle. Have you looked at that in the European market?
I haven't, went into markets very much. I have looked at, so the question was, are there markets throughout the world that are different than, that may be more accepting of what we're doing? And the answer is, I have not spent a lot of time just, looking at each market. I'm really trying to develop the technology. However, this is such a different world we live in today. So my brother, he works for a machining company in Mora, where they make parts for cars in India. So maybe we can't get it in the U.S. car in 3 or 5 years, but we might be able to get it in one in India in 2 years. So, who would have thought that would happen? We're making parts here for India. I thought it was supposed to be the other way around. So you just never know. I think that that team of really analyzing markets, maybe that's a good first market, Europe, but, again, I think the car thing is probably the big prize, and I think you need to work towards that.
So there was a company that I think actually presented here at Million Cups and has been around the Twin Cities that is making new internal combustion engines.
I saw that.
So are you familiar with that company? Kind of puts the pistons on and goes like that. So you're familiar with them, and so that might be a good study because they've been a long time coming, and they've needed to raise over $20 million to get that. And it's not in the market yet, but they've done a couple of pivots, so it would be a good study for you to look at what it kind of, how they evolved and how they had to pivot, and now they're going into generators, so to speak, is what they think is their first entry.
And I think that's a good market. I saw the technology, it is interesting. We don't have any pistons, blades, or vanes, or anything like that.
It sounds, I've not.
So it's so unique that it's just like, it's in a different box.
So it sounds like, yeah.
But, so when I look at pistons, if you will, I certainly have a certain animosity there, but it's a little biased, right? But no, I like where they went. They obviously have come a long ways with their technology. I think they will probably get a foothold here. I hope there is a new technology coming around that might maybe limit that. But, so there are other people. The good thing is working towards the same end. So when I say the things that we're trying to do, there are other people trying to do that. If nobody else was doing it, it'd be a question what we're trying to do. So, but that is an interesting technology. I like what they've done with the graphics and things like that.
I think even that technology, which is based on kind of stuff that's out there, people look at as a tell me how you're gonna crack that. But you're saying that your technology just kind of leaps ahead of all of that.
There have been people for a long, long time working to improve the technology we have today. They're much smarter than I am. I'm not going to say they're not. I'd love to have them working on my technology. What I did is I just did something different. And it's not just a twist on what you have, like what I see they did. Not that there's anything wrong with that technology. We're just coming at it from a different angle, different disciplines. It allows that different thing.
So you got me thinking about refrigeration principles because that's your background. Do you have an accepted patent, or is it provisional right now?
No, we have a patent.
So that should be public record.
It
You can
is.
search that.
Yes.
Can you give me information on that?
7,844,179, I think is the number. If you put in Momentum Technologies, Chris Brewer, our patent will come up.
Chris Brewer.
Yes. So that base technology I have run on steam, water, and air. That would be external combustion turbine, or external energy source turbine. This, what I'm doing now, is different, but it uses the base technology, which is patented.
Do you have association with any university professors or physics people that would have not only credibility but contacts and money?
Early on, I was working with Montana State Bozeman, and I haven't at this time develop the connection. Part of the problem, and this is sort of a difficult pitch, is that when you go to somebody at the university, you have to convince them whatever they're working on is not as good as what you're working on, so they can give you some time on it. So they have been receptive, but it is difficult. If I can supply the lab and everything, they can supply graduate students to work on it. So yeah, that might be even a potential with what we'll do, but it's not as easy as what you would think. Just walk in there and create an idea, hey, let's go work on it. You know, so.
Do you think this could also be standalone generators or ultralight aircraft?
Yes, there's potential in each market, sure.
Just a thought with, I mean, it might be a couple steps away, but you're really talking about building an engine company. And there are, in your state, some good examples of engine companies that might be part of your team down the road, even one in New Richmond, which is a diesel engine for aviation, but you got Briggs & Stratton, Mercury Marine, Harley Davidson, Johnson. Well, you know, I mean, there's a, because in the end, you want to be an engine company. Right?
Well, that is a potential path.
Or feed it.
I'm not going to say that we have defined a path. I do like the idea of potentially licensing in each market, but that is a potential path. I have found that companies tend to like you taking all the risk away. So even if you don't go to manufacture, they want you to line everything up as if you're going to manufacture, because then the risk is gone, and then you can see how that easily assimilates into their
Well,
system.
becoming an engine company is a big endeavor.
Yeah, probably bigger than I personally would like to take on. I'm not going to say that's off the table again. I think that needs to be decided by a team how we can move forward. I think this technology can be made. There's multiple places in the Twin Cities that can do it for me. So the manufacturing capability is there. We don't have to invent anything on that side. So I think it can integrate as a licensed technology fairly easily, and maybe without having to start manufacturing.
And take a look at those companies and their niches.
Definitely.
Motorcycles, lawnmowers.
I mean, I would just take an example.
Oh,
Toro's local, right? They manufacture their small engines, but when you get into their larger lawnmowers, they use Briggs, they use Kawasaki, and then they use Kohler. So if you had another engine, you're not asking them to change much. They just take another engine that can plug right in place. So one of those other three, Kohler is now advertising they have an engine that they only have to do 1/3 of the oil changes. So they're already working in that direction. They all want less pollution. So I think there's a lot of potential. I mean, just as a layman looking at the market, I can see areas where, from a manufacturing standpoint, where things could happen with less pain, and less pain means easier assimilation. So.
I think we have time for one more.
Can you just hit your website, because there's about 50 momentum technologies online. What's the website?
I don't have a website right now. I do have a card.
Okay.
I mean, I'm on Facebook.
Or
We
what's
have-
your email?
It is chris.brewer@m-tcorp.net.
Chris, you realize you're gonna have to change your name for the company? Because there's others that probably own that name.
There are, when we did the name search initially, there was other companies, but they didn't use the exact same technologies corporation. We are founded in Montana, and there are no momentum technologies corporations there. Now, whether we stay there or not, that will remain to be seen. So if we do have to change, we're the technology behind everything else, so if we do license, somebody else can take the credit for the new engine technology. Our name wouldn't be as important in that way.
Sure.
Chris, I hope you'll come back and do another presentation for us. Do you know maybe how long out that might be? 6 months, a year?
Well, I would really like to think that we'll make significant progress in the next 6 months.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.